Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. All I'm saying, next time, bring the evidence. All you do, you come here, corruption. Just here. Next time you come, bring your stuff. I am not talking about that. I'm talking about you in 2024, December, saying there's corruption. Bring it.
Let me ask you this question. I would like to ask the AG to propose legislation for what we call small claims court. There are lots of poor people, so an example you just gave, that they have issues with others and sometimes with large firms, but the lawyer fee is greater than the fee you're claiming.
It is their right.
Yes.
The right that someone has. All of our rights exist in context.
What is the context for second medical opinion?
Because you disrespected the process.
No.
Jesus, this is common sense, man.
Any situation which you seem to do, you're just dealing with Afro-Guyanese issues. If one, you can't bring and pull the leaders of the African community together, you're failing them. And if two, you can't put forward a future, a blueprint, and a plan for African Guyanese, you're failing as well.
Hi there, pleasant Friday evening to you. This is the Freddie Kissoon Show. Thanks for being with us again. As you would have known, in the month of June, we have completed 3 years. Alongside me is our long-standing, reliable co-host, Leonard Craig. Our guest this evening holds a degree in international relations from the University of Guyana, was a marketing officer for Digicel, and was a foundation member of the Alliance for Change. He sat in the 2011 Parliament representing the AFC until 2015. And as a foundation member, he would have been a long-standing executive member of the Alliance for Change. He appeared twice on this program to give his views on a changing or maybe moribund AFC. We're on the election campaign, and it would be interesting to get the views of Trevor Williams as he assesses the political horizon and the 2 months of unfolding political campaign. Our guest this evening, former foundation member of the AFC, former parliamentarian of the AFC, former executive of the AFC, Trevor Williams. Trevor, for the third time, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Freddie.
I will ask Leonard Craig to put the first question.
Hey Trevor, welcome.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks for that.
It's good that you eventually make it. Freddie, he's slippery bad, you know. Anyway.
That also they want to give AFC ammunition against the man. Can't be more slippery than the commentator.
No, he's talking about coming on the program. Coming on the program.
He's been evasive.
Yeah.
Don't use slippery.
Okay. You think slippery got a little thing to it. Trevor, you have been in the AFC, you have been there when the first agreement was formed and all of that. And then we have seen in the last few weeks that the AFC is being degutted by their own partner. What are your views on that? All these people that the PNC is reaching over to the AFC and extract.
Well, thank you, Craig, and thank you,
Six so far.
for being here. And good evening to our viewers. This had to happen because we kept saying over the years that the AFC had failed to build an institution. Okay? They failed to build a political institution that was strong, meaningful, and had to feature progressive planning for leaders and leadership. And so the vacuum was always there when you have 5 and 6 people existing at the top, and you have a cadre of politically fit, young, astute, and ambitious people that can't fit in, soon enough you'd find them moving to a place where they probably feel more comfortable. But also the other aspect is that the APNU and AFC relationship has always been fragile and viewed with much suspicion. And I don't think there was ever really fair and transparent play between the two institutions, the two parties over time. And after 2020, you begin to see the AFC struggle more to assert itself because it was out of that shelter that the coalition provided somewhat. You know, when you're with a strong partner in anything, your flaws are hidden. Your weakness rarely comes to the fore. When you have to stand on your own and battle your own ship, then you realize how limited or how insufficient your resources, whether human resource or institutional organization is. And I think what has happened to the AFC, it has been put out there, and now you're seeing the lack and the gaps and the holes. And the APNU in the process has not been, I think, a fair and transparent partner of the AFC. That's a fact. I served in the coalition government. I served in very senior capacity in youth, sport and culture. I served as an executive member for the AFC at a time. And I can tell you, and I think, Leno, you were there, of course, and many others, you could hardly have a discussion, you could hardly have a development, you could hardly have the conclusion of a matter where people feel that satisfied and transparency had really been at the core. So there's very fragile, very weak arrangement, and as soon as it exposes you, you're going to find that. And Monday is nomination day, but more people may leave the FC by now on Monday. And I don't think the FC will get one seat in the coming elections. That's just a fact. They've not done the work over the years. They've not put forward strong, acceptable candidates. I think Nigel Hughes is a good guy. I like Nigel very much. He's a good gentleman. He's an excellent lawyer. But to serve politically and to answer the call and to have the energy and the commitment to constituencies is proving difficult for the AFC, extremely difficult. And that's where they're no match for the government of the day, the PPPC, and its constituency outreach programs, etc. And of course, APNU in its own right is falling apart. In my opinion, when you're losing all these top flight persons in an election year, I don't think in my lifetime I've seen the APNU, PNC lost so many prominent members in a batch. You lose your number one woman general in Miss
Ali?
No. Well, she died, God rest her soul.
But she resigned before she died.
Of course. And you have Amanza Walton, who's probably the female face of APNU for the next generation. You lose your number one man in your strongest supposedly constituency,
and Vanessa Kissoon.
You lost Vanessa. You lose the chairman of the most contested region, Region 4, most important. You lose the vice chair along with him. You lose the Sydney Alicott. I'm not sure.
Don Hastings.
Well, now I'm sure. And countless others. And how do you keep a house in order? How do you keep a party in order? And when the confidence of the populace, both parties are in real trouble.
Trevor, I've noticed something with the AFC that I'm not seeing with we're going to talk about parties now, not the government. In fairness to APNU, but the ruling party, everywhere you go when they have their fundraiser, you're seeing about 4 faces. For example, they have their launch this weekend in Kitty. And if you look at all the advertisement, it's the president, the general secretary of the party, the prime minister. If you look at the APNU, in fairness to them, you're seeing Charetta Finance alongside Aubrey Norton. I've seen the latest advertisement, the latest promotion of the AFC. I saw it this morning. And I've seen the previous one. And there's just Nigel Hughes. Now, if you see, please see the latest promotion of the AFC, which is about 5 minutes or 3-4 minutes. All the images, all the encounters with people, it's just Nigel walking. What has happened to the high-profile nature of Raphael Trotman, of David Patterson, of Khemraj Ramjattan, of Cathy Hughes? The AFC seem to be concentrating on projecting Nigel Hughes. Does that tell you that they feel the success is with him rather than the collective AFC?
Well, more or less, I would agree with such a perspective. Nigel is what you'd call the savior of the last hour, and therefore he will carry all the burdens. Everything will be thrown on Nigel. And it's really terrible that after over a decade in existence, you cannot posit and present a consistent slate or group of faces to say this is a party we're carrying forward. In such a critical period in the election, 2 months away, you have to pin it all down to Nigel. But again, I think it would reflect to my earlier statement, when you fail to build an institution, when you fail to invest in youth and the future, and establish a strong command, second, third tier, etc., you're going to get a problem. On Sunday, the PPP stage will be overwhelmed. They don't have space for enough people who they can put up as candidates and comrades and faces to represent, because over the years they were investing in people, they were building that leadership chain. And therefore they do not have to go searching through a brown bag to get a few names to say come on the stage. It just won't have space for enough people. They may need to extend the Kitty Market Square. I'm just saying. So that's the comparison. That's the problem when you don't invest. You don't focus on who's coming next. And you have what I call these forever leaders who believe that they're entitled to a shot at presidency. And if the party is to be broken in the process, then they don't care. And that's a fundamental issue you would always have. In my opinion, while party leaders are extremely necessary, a party leader does not have to be a presidential candidate. A party leader does not have to be given all that power and responsibility for making things happen. You cannot endure that amount of power in one person. You have to know what the community think, what the country think, what the nation, how can they work with them. And I see other parties on the block also exhibiting the one face, the one person, and you ask the question, well, what more do you have? Who is going to be a minister of X, Y, Z? That's the issue here. People are more consumed about running this race and really preparing to take on a nation that really needs more strong, experienced, and politically groomed person for the task. That's the issue. But the AFC is a dwindled and a dwindling force, and I believe while they couldn't get an agreement with APNU for whatever partnership or coalition, all hell breaks loose now. You have to go win it on your own. You have to go to 10 regions and win it on your own. You have to take your message. You're not going to be shielding on Aubrey Norton and his people. You have to go on your own. And when you don't prepare, these kind of days hit you in politics. They meet you.
I cannot disagree with you. As you rightly pointed out, we were both in the AFC and we observe. And what is left of the AFC really is what it is, the cabal that formed themselves into a small leadership, and it's just that leadership group is left, because everything around them that they never developed just faded. But I want your specific perspective on, do you think it is honor among friends when APNU, because based on what is out in the public, they had a meeting without notifying the AFC or anything, or they had a meeting and they made an agreement with Jarrett Finance to be prime ministerial candidate when Jarrett Finance was not part of their coalition, which means then that that is clandestine, going behind the AFC back and recruiting friends. And I must remind you too that AFC had 15 years of partnership with the PNC, because, well, more like 12 or 13 actually, because the parliament before, from 2011, then that was informal, but it was a partnership, and then formal from 2015 and so on. After so many years together, do you go and do that to your friend?
Well, I know the
Friend, quote unquote.
part of the answers to that, you have to go back to the AFC's recent Congress.
Mm-hmm.
When Jarrett Finance, Sherrod Duncan, and Ricky Ramjattan was a standing force against Nigel Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
And that team was supported by Khemraj Ramjattan.
Mm-hmm.
That was Ramjattan's hand at play. They were defeated because Nigel called upon all resources. There was Trotman, there was Patterson.
Yeah, the
all came
mulatto
back
Creole
together
class,
for one fight.
even outside of the FC
But
came
that
swinging.
wound never healed, right? Because Jurita, Sherrod, Ricky, and team thought that they were now the future of the party.
Yeah, yeah.
They were in the seat.
I can tell you, Duncan will not forgive, but go on, will not forgive Hughes for that, for what he
Precisely.
did. He had no idea Hughes was coming to.
The APNU saw that, and they knew that there were fertile grounds for talks with them. That's why the talks couldn't go on. So it was a stab in the back, I should say. It was really a slap and an insult to Nigel, because here is Nigel and David going into negotiations officially with the blessings of the party, not knowing that half your members, half your team was already gone.
Mm-hmm.
So the APNU, all they had to do was stall. All right? They had no obligation. They know they were not losing anything.
Yeah.
All they had to do was stall, and they got what they wanted. They abandoned them. They left. But that's as far as it goes. To take on the government of the day is another issue, which we'll probably come to a little later in this discussion. But it comes back to my point: when you don't have an institution, when you don't have strong safeguards for the existence and the breeding ground for leaders, and people are not feeling like stakeholders anymore, then they can go. The AFC lost its vice chair in Linden to win.
Yeah.
Mark Goring and others have left. The AFC and the APNU will be swept in Kokwani cleanly this time. They'll be swept in the riverine areas, and they'll be swept among the Amerindians. All right? They'll be severely wounded in Region 4 and the coastal regions. We'll get to that, because President Ali has done significant work in the black communities. There's a whole new suite of young Afro-Guyanese entrepreneurs in this country. There's a whole lot of optimism with the reach and the work of the government today. So this time, the results of September 1st, we will come back here for a program to discuss where do they go from there.
Well, that's if you don't prove evasive.
It's gonna be
They'd
fair.
like to have you back within the 2 months of
will
the
be.
election campaign.
I will be.
I think I'm going to accept his word. Slippery rather than evasive.
That's a busy with work among other things.
You know, I taught both of you at UG, and I can say, I remember you used to come to my home when you were a student, and I thought both of you had a future, and it so turned out you do. I think you owing Guyana's historiography not to write something about that important, curious, absorbing period in current Guyanese history. You were both right up top there. And you need to write something about that. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it from Trotman, Cathy Hughes, Nigel Hughes, Ramjattan. I don't think they're going to write anything. I think they're going to just fade out. But you guys are academics, man. You need either jointly to write a paper on the birth and demise of the AFC. subtitle My Perspective and leave it for Guyana's historiography, man. You need to.
Yeah, probably. The thing is, I write snippets in my column from time to time. I write just
you do.
snippets.
You write some very important.
And sometimes, because you have limited space, you gotta, you don't sometimes get to deal with
But you the
meat of
co-host,
the
let him
matter,
answer the question.
right? So yeah, Trevor, go ahead.
I believe there needs to be documentation.
Well, you can do it. Both of you are white students at
a
UG.
critical point in our history as a nation, and I don't think in the hemisphere any other political party
That's rise and
has
fall like
free
that.
fall like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was a moment of splendor that Guyana embraced.
What we know as then young members of the party, the leaders didn't know because we were on the ground. And the amount of people that had signed on.
Yeah.
And again, because there was no institutional framework, there was no proper administration of taking in members and placing people. You had people showing up at your gate in the mornings and evenings with a family coming to sign up, register to join a political party. You had people leaving their jobs, painting their homes in green and yellow, right? Painting the boats, spraying the cars. But it never happened. It never registered in the minds of those who led.
It took hold Guyana, then it went.
Because their priority was really the security of a very small portfolio of power.
I saw that.
Again.
When they came into power, I saw that.
And it went forward a bit when we had 2015, the coalition came in. Again, I often say this, that David Granger came into office with a high degree of goodwill and expectation, even though it was a wafer thin.
It was. I think Guyana was saying, give them a chance.
He never knew how to look at that. He never understood the value.
He doesn't know politics
of anything that people cared about.
He doesn't know
right?
politics.
And the rest is history. We've seen it. Probably for another discussion, or if it happens today. But that's the sad state of rushing for power, rushing for office, rushing for leadership, and not preparing for the long haul of institutional building. You may start a party, but you may not be the person anointed and appointed
to take it to the promised land.
It's a reason why it's a party. People will come. They will buy your vision. They will find reference with your ideas, your ideals. They will share your values. They'll probably disagree with some, but you are really creating an institution again in this space. Now, if you behave like I'm not there, the party can't go on. I'm not there to. It's not a party. It's a little operation. And we got plenty of those. They'll be registered now for these elections with GCOM.
20 of them.
Right? People.
Well, 19.
I believe what most are after is to retain or regain a seat in the National Assembly from which they can function and operate. But ask yourself, in the years 2020 to now, how many of these people have you seen on the ground literally looking out for the public, asking the hard questions, taking on the issues of the day? People don't.
So Trevor, Jaretta Finance, Sherrod Duncan, and Ramsuru. They said, look, I prefer to go under Aubrey Norton leadership than Nigel Hughes leading me. In effect, that's what it has to be a devastating blow to the
Well, Freddie, there's two things wrong. There are two issues there. One, they were smart enough to know that on their own they may probably one or two seats.
Yeah, I think that was the motivating factor.
How do you give seven people a seat or two in Parliament when they all exist?
So there's three of them. There's Nigel, there's his wife, there's Patterson, there's the Amerindian lady. So
secondly,
and you can only get two seats.
Even if they were to win 5 or 6, they weren't going back there.
Right, right.
The rift, the wounds were, it's too bitter. They would not have been.
So
put back.
let's call them the triumvirate.
They
The triumvirate knew that
They
they
scampered.
weren't under
Yes.
Hughes, so they weren't going back in Parliament.
Exactly.
So they said, look, we better bolt.
The fact of the matter is, the APNU will get enough to accommodate them.
Yeah.
That's the fact. If they so desire. And being named PM candidate and so on, you're surely going to Parliament, right? That's a done deal.
Yeah, she will.
You
be
have a
fine.
seat. And even-
Wiki Ramsu, because of ethnicity, is going to be there.
Precisely.
So two of them are going to be there.
Sher Duncan, he has his audience, he has his following, he has his program. I don't think they will leave him up there. I don't
So
think so.
the triumvirate said, look,
So
we're going and secure our future. There isn't one under Nigel Hughes.
Right.
precisely, it's a move to ensure that you have political longevity, at least from the view of the National Assembly. That's my personal view, and I'm sure I'm not wrong on that. But there was no coexisting after 2025. They could not last in the AFC because, again, the wounds in the party were so raw. The situation would have been so bitter. They could not fit there. They could not function within the framework of the AFC. So too, and again, the APNU saw that and they understood that they will be better off bolstered by three persons who have some political weight in the AFC.
And since then, there have been more.
Well,
Yeah,
From
yeah,
the
yeah.
youth leadership.
Yes.
Another.
Right, right. And yesterday, the two main persons from Region 3, the Region 3 group, has also gone to the APNU.
Those are
It's a dead huge of exits.
Gangade Lloyd and this other guy, Suraj. They have gone yesterday. And remember, I always say on this program that AFC's infrastructure around the country would keep it up, but that is crumbling,
Right,
that is
yeah.
falling apart. So I have to adjust my analysis. Trevor, I need to support something you said before I ask you the next question. I was telling some people only yesterday, I was in a little group and we were talking, that the AFC never really mentored any of us that were coming up under the leadership. We had to use our own initiative and literally compete to stay alive. I can't recall, I don't know of anybody who was taken under the wings of a Raphael Trotman or a David Patterson and raised and molded and taught politics. I can't think of any. Everybody who gained recognition was after their own, participation. But let me ask you the question. Is there a difference with that aspect that I just mentioned and the AFC and the PPP? How do you view the leadership of the General Secretary of the PPP? How do you view the leadership of Irfaan Ali with respect to that aspect of, your term is institutional building?
Well, I think on my last program, I briefly mentioned that in my research, in this hemisphere, the PPP has posited one of the most successful political machinery as against anything in the Caribbean, and I even checked in Latin America, and that's for a particular reason which we could talk about later. But I say this to answer your question, that when you have a strong institution like the PYO, when you have the woman arm, when you have party leaders that were raised in bottom house type work, canvassing,
in the villages.
right? When you have people who their leaders expect them to be out in the trenches and to report on issues, and you can be called upon. When you have comrades whose phone numbers are always active, okay, you begin to see the picture why there is success. Now, if you look at President Ali, in the years I think he was 2010 to 2015 Minister of Housing, somewhere there.
Yeah.
Right? Young minister entrusted with serious responsibility. We've had one of the better housing programs in the Caribbean. All things equal, take into context our small economy, there's no oil mining. Look at the kind of schemes, right? Look at the outward push for the allocation of house lots to Guyanese. Look at the development of areas previously undeveloped, shut out infrastructure. So I say this to say, you had a man who was prepared, who was being prepared. So he wasn't just thrown in there. So from day one, he knew what he had to do. And that's why I see the work of himself and the vice president and the party is what I call a stable hand in a nation's development, a very consistent and stable hand. All is not perfect, all is not well to the extent we want it to be. I don't think any citizen could be extremely happy and overjoyed with every move our government makes. But that he's head and shoulders above today's competition, who will stand on platform against him. But it comes down to institution. It comes down to being prepared. It comes down to being entrusted with responsibilities, with leadership. You know, PPP has always had a very strong younger bunch in the parliament for many, many years. Some of these guys come out of the sugar, they come from farming, they come from communities, but they've been prepared. Now let me jump a step and come back here. 2015 coalition in power. Did Bart Jagdeo disappear? Obviously not. He was there every day. He had more press conferences than Granger. He had more outreach. He knew things even before the coalition cabinet knew it. He had information. He was working tirelessly because he stood there as a political opposition and ensured that his institution did not fall apart. He led them, and the PPP was together in opposition. They knew that, you know what, we'll see this through and come back because we understand what it is to function. After September 1st, most again of these little groups will disappear. Some people will remigrate, they won't even want to hear from you. And then they'll come back in 5 years and say, vote for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll still be around after September 1st either. Maybe in name. Alright? So when you and I'm talking to the voters now, that the PPP has prepared itself and has become a very strong and important political institution in Guyana, raising and grooming leaders for the task at hand. In that light, you don't gamble with your future. You don't make emotional decisions. You don't make decisions based on faces. You don't make decisions based on somebody saying, look at the records, look at the track records. Look at the work of Aubrey Norton over the years and his teams to see, compare it. Be informed in this election, and you will see that Irfaan Ali has stepped out there. He went into the Caribbean space. You know, one of the most beautiful things I've admired is we've not had a president who has discussed the importance of removing barriers to intra-regional trade. You were part of CARICOM and you couldn't sell things in these islands. And here is President Ali and Motley deciding that we'll dismantle these barriers. We will bring the people in CARICOM closer. We'll have more food trade. The farmers in Guyana could sell their produce.
It's under the two of them, the ferry is coming.
Exactly. And a targeted agenda to reduce the import of food in the region, meaning that you can actually now grow and produce, of course, at the highest standard to feed the Caribbean market. Something people, I believe, leaders were just too weak, shy, and afraid to discuss. We've got stronger ties in Latin America now, and in South America, Brazil. We've got a very important highway being laid out, which means that in a few short years there'll be an explosion in manufacturing trade between
short
Brazil
months
and Guyana, right?
Years.
A few short months. And so many other agreements have been signed with companies and corporations to really bring development to this country. Look, we've got schools being put out in some very far places. We have more roads than ever. We have more more contractors in this country, I think the outlook is good. All right, look at the money we receive for carbon credits, and don't forget they started under President Jagdeo since 2004, the low carbon development strategy. Look at the bridging of the rivers. You know, there's so much to sit back and say, man, it's working. Guy is working. You know, guy is going places. Look at the amount of airlines that has come into this country. Look at the air service agreements with these nations. I mean, what more can we say in terms of how they have steadied the ship and carried the country forward?
I'm concerned about your mental health, Trevor. I'll tell you why. Did you grow up in Georgetown?
No, I'm not.
Oh, so I don't.
I'm not in Georgetown.
Right. Well, if you didn't grow up in Georgetown, you probably wouldn't know what a Jumbie lash is. Have you heard the term Jumbie lash?
Yeah, different
Well,
kinds of Jumbie lash.
James Bond and Leonard Craig get a Jumbie lash from David Hines. You don't normally, when I was growing up, you don't normally survive a Jumbie lash. It's lashing on, it's kill you. But Bond survived it, and he survived it. I don't know how. After this program, David Hines said to him, I just watch it every of these programs and say, you know what? When he watches at this program and Wickford Borg watches this program, you can get some Jumbie lash. Could you survive that? I'm concerned about you. You can get some Jumbie lash after this program is broadcast this evening.
One of the unfortunate things in this country is that people expect you to hold loyal lines,
irrespective of anything.
Loyal lines to race, to your what should be historical party affiliates, whether you were born a PNC or you were born a PPP or you were born something, and people expect you to not reason. They expect you to not have an opinion of your own when it comes to important matters, and that's not fair. You know, I'll say this to the nation, whether I do it on YouTube, Facebook, if I cut loose one day, right, and start to roll out laundry of what I saw in my time in government.
No, man, don't.
No, I'm
you
just
have
saying.
to do it. You have to do it.
If
saying that people are going to
right?
be disappointed in you if I cut loose.
Well,
you trained at
there's a
UG.
place-
You've
there's
got
no-
to
Freddie,
contribute to
there's-
Guyana
yes, I will,
historiography.
but there's a place, there's time and place to everything. But what I'm
But he
saying,
keeps saying that all the
There's time and
time.
place
Is
to
that an
everything.
excuse?
but what
Please
I'm
cut
saying-
loose.
Freddie.
you know, the issue is this. People expect you to hold lines and values that suits them, that defends and protects their, and I would say their incompetence. You know, it's not fair for anyone to do that or to hold you in that state. A man must be allowed to be his own man, make his own decisions, and say why. Anything I say on this program, whether it is unpopular to any political party, they feel I took a swipe at dig, they feel I said too much, I have my defense, I have my reason. It's not malicious conversation, it's facts. And when you are functioning politically, people expect you to be responsible, and they expect you to be forthcoming, and they expect you to assess situations and to defend your positions. So the Jumbie lash is one method of trying to keep people in line. I don't know what's the purpose, but I think I've had many Jumbie lashes before.
And you survive.
Ah yes, you know, and that's a matter.
Correct?
Earlier you said you don't think the AFC will get one seat. What kind of configuration you envisage? What kind of configuration you see? How about other parties? You got a party named Win, you got Mansa, you got how do you envisage?
Simona Booms.
All right. The Win party has probably gone out farther and wider, and is riding on a high wave of expectation, admiration. The unknown is there, but the Win Party has moved ahead of the APNU and the others in terms of stirring constituencies at this point, as it is. Facebook will tell you that, the media will tell you that, no doubt. The others who would have broken off and gone in the little spaces, I don't think the nation is very aware or very knowledgeable of their existence in that front. I see a lot of people, as what I call urban politicians, who have little spaces and they rock and roll there, but to go out across the country and to go in all 10 regions and to interact with people of all walks of life is another issue. So the way I see it, the PPP wins this election comfortably, but I see a reduction in the votes for the APNU and the AFC, and probably Win taking some of those, because if you look at the supporters of Win, if you look at the urban Afro-Guyanese, etc., and these are all coming from the PNC, AFC former constituencies, New Amsterdam, Linden, and these places and so on, some of the interior towns, etc. And Win is going to hurt them significantly.
Trevor, are we witnessing the final riding off of two very, very prominent names in politics in the month of November, December, or January thereafter, 2026? You said it right here a few minutes ago that APNU is going to be devastated in Kokwani, in region. And then you said AFC is not going to get even one seat. So are we witnessing the end of Nigel Hughes and Aubrey Norton? If you're so devastated in terms of your parliamentary seats, there's going to be a natural engagement for leadership by your executives.
Well, if I'm to review one earlier comment or correct myself, I would think they'll probably get a seat, not zero. They'll probably get one.
Yeah, but Nigel isn't going to sit in as a lone man.
No,
his ego's too big for that.
There's going to be someone as a representative. Yeah, I believe Aubrey goes after this because on the plain outlook of things, we've never seen the PNC having this amount of high-profile desertion, much more in election year.
Yeah.
So how do you come back and don't forget the Congress was a poorly attended Congress. It had its shortcomings, etc. So you couldn't actually point to a broad spread of support that is consistent. But it's for the parties to know and to accept what results they bring from the polls at that time. But in regards to Nigel, I don't know if he can rebuild that institution. I don't know if Guyanese will want to, hear again the desertions at this point. You had Gorin and all these guys, these younger guys. The desertions from the AFC are not people over 50. They're people well in their 40s and 30s, and those are supposed to be your pointers for the next generational leadership. How do you replace those? So yes, there'll be a shaking out, and I believe a lot more people will probably not have the energy and the stamina to run again, given what I think will happen.
And so they have with North.
Will be devastated.
I forgot a third name there. It looks like he's already riding. He's on the saddle. Khemraj Ramjattan.
No doubt. I think, given the results of the last Congress and the state of things, I think Khemraj has already called time on his political career in terms of being very active. I mean, okay, you stick around, and what do you work with? What keeps you? What do you wake up in the morning to build on?
Yeah.
You can't be building a party 15 times in 15 years. You cannot.
Right.
You cannot be turning over the engine every 5 minutes to see what will happen. It doesn't work like that. And when people understand the importance of national trust and consistency, then we're gonna get a different type of leadership in this country. And again, I say, I endorse President Ali and team for this 2026 election. I think they've carried this country strongly. I think all the indicators are there that the government has put in a lot of work. I'm not saying it has been a perfect period. I don't think any government can carry a flawless term. You have challenges.
Yeah, of course. And you're going to have mistakes.
You have politicians are humans. You're not always in control of everything. It doesn't always happen, but I think what we have here is a steady hand. And we've seen the indications that another term at this rate and pace we'll be way better off as a country. And even though I'm not an active member of any political party, I've decided to campaign for the PPPC in 2026. To come on board the rally, the campaign, and work in
The
that.
two of you will
direction.
meet up at the same rally. Because he's officially on the campaign.
Well, we
So
probably
you're gonna
could,
be-
well, but I offer my support unconditionally.
Yeah, you two,
I've
you're
not
gonna
put
meet
my
up.
name down for any intended elected position or anything. But I believe that it's necessary that the government be given another 5 years to really put Guyana where we all need it to be. I believe he's the best candidate for national unity. I believe the policies are right, they're good. Some things can be tailored, but most of all, it's been 5 better years from 2020 to present. And so I endorse the president and team for 2026. I know the election will bring lots of interesting moments, but I want to say to people that you have to look at where we came from. You have to look at how far we've gone. Things are never going to be perfect for you as an individual in every aspect, but you got to look at the bigger picture.
David Hines looking at this program now.
Yeah.
Don't be lash coming.
I think he should endorse the president as well.
But the man lives outside, the book lives outside. The two of you are here working hard in Guyana.
Precisely, we know.
You do your work in the interior, you hardly come to town.
Precisely.
How these men could criticize you and live in a country where the vendor in the market don't get a sale from them.
You know, on the next program, I don't know when we can.
If you don't continue with the slipperies.
I will make myself available to have a discussion on the expectations of Afro-Guyanese under David Granger government.
Can we put you in a panel with someone else?
Certainly,
Right.
certainly. The expectations, whether they were met or not, and how the administration of AP and UFC handled the issues of Afro-Guyanese, whether from social, political, economic, etc. I definitely would want to be a part of that discussion, because I functioned as an official in government for 5 years.
Well, I'm going to start to plan that panel right away.
There is much to talk about, and I believe you're better equipped to say something if you dealt with it, if you were part of it.
I wrote a column quoting a lot of things from David Hines, and you read what David Hines himself wrote. It's clear that the expectations that you're talking about, I think you should consult some of those documents that David Hines himself wrote.
Definitely, I'll have a look at
And it would be extremely informative with respect to the issue you just raised. The current administration in power Irfaan Ali has been able to more or less penetrate the Afro-dominated communities. And in just as a comparison, in the Granger administration, they had an entire ministry dedicated to social cohesion,
Political mobilization.
and they have not been able to penetrate the Indo community, which I thought that was what the ministry was set up for. I don't know. Why do you think the success is different?
Again, quickly, it goes back to your institutional training. Secondly, what President Ali has done even before becoming president, he boldly invaded these communities. He took no limits. No one could tell
And
him.
he was chased out of many of those communities.
Right. But no one could tell
and
him
he's
where to
being
go.
welcomed now.
No one could tell him where to go and where not to go. Right? He saw himself as a Guyanese leader that had something to offer. Most of the recent Afro-Guyanese black leaders of Guyana and the Republican Party has always had an apprehension to really getting ingrained into East Indian communities for many reasons. I remember Noel Gold as Minister of Agriculture told Khemraj Ramjattan, well, let me say this before somebody sue me.
Yeah, put it over.
Let me
you have experience in law
right?
school. Put it over good.
I heard that the Minister of Agriculture was afraid to go to Borbies to speak to the fishermen because they were angry about something, literally frightened,
We can't get sued for that.
right? To go because the people, they were angry for whatever reasons, it's the community, but refused to go and engage. Now, how many in this country, how many black leaders, politics aside, elections aside, how many black leaders goes to East Indian communities regularly, interacts, engages, familiarizes themselves with communities and constituencies that are not necessarily their particular ethnic clan? Do we see it in this country? Does it happen? But you'll find Kwame McCoy all over the place. You'll find Jenny Westford all over the place. You'll find Sam Hines all over the place. You'll find all of them, whether they feel welcomed or they feel good about the moment, they go there. Because they understand as leaders, you gotta be there, whether people like it or not. They smile, they curse. You have to be there as a political leader. You don't withdraw from people, demarcate yourself as if you cannot relate, because your political initiatives and your policies will reflect your apprehensions. And therefore, when it comes to time of resource allocation, you will be very ignorant as to what you want to do for those communities because you have no touch. You have no touch about the fisher folk. You have no touch about the farmers, the importance of farm to market road. You have no touch about the waterfront. You have no touch about lumber. You have no touch about the gold miners, what they face. You have no touch. So how could you therefore roll out effective policy initiatives? You cannot. And again, we'll take another program to discuss that limitation again, because here we sit as people who sat at the table, we understood, we were part of so many things, and therefore we have a wealth of experience to talk about.
Trevor, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. Not politically difficult, but you may be mentally uncomfortable with it. But you with Craig were right inside the war room of the AFC before it got into power or when it was in power. If we go down, if we make the enumeration process, Nigel Hughes, Khemraj Ramjattan, Dominic Gaskin, Noe Holder, Patterson, if we go through the list of that elite cabal that was there, who would you say had offered a better promise, although all of them failed? Who would you say that of that lot that could have done better?
If given the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, I'll have to say that probably, in my opinion, there'll be two guys, Nigel Hughes and Dominic Gaskin. For one, Nigel was extremely educated, eloquent, and Nigel has always been on the streets. He's been in the communities. Nigel didn't wait for political cloaking to be effective in the community with the small man. So I think, in hindsight, as early as his entry, he should have been given a free hand, and he was not given. All right, he was not given a free hand because his rise would have threatened the frontiers of other Afro-Guyanese leaders who were holding on to their little pieces. So his rise was a direct threat, right? And there's a whole lot to discuss on that. But Dominic Gaskin, also, in my opinion, no strings attached. Dominic is a very fair person. I think he's very transparent and an honest man. And Dominic has already been an independent person. You see, part of the effectiveness in politics will come from the level of independent thinking you're accustomed to and you're allowed to have. And when you bring good people into politics and you interfere with their independence, you have a problem, because they don't know how to function outside of being independent and straight up. Right? So I think those two guys, for me, if given a free hand, they're allowed to express themselves, you would have
done better.
A lot better. But the trappings of the political configuration of it, they didn't allow it. Like people were afraid of Nigel. Even now, Nigel got his throat cut by his own type, because if he rises, then others go down.
Before Craig comes, you said if you cut loose, all hell will break loose. You can't cut loose a little bit and tell us there's an opposite, there's another side to that coin just now. The ones that you felt could have done better. What about the ones you were disappointed in and you said, no man, they're not taking this country?
Let me just stitch in this quickly. I hope you're talking about people who could have done better politically and not administratively, because if you're talking about admin, I won't support your thought on Dominic Gaskin at all.
No, politically.
He probably means this.
Okay, political character.
But you feel,
right.
yes.
Okay,
you feel
good.
safe. You're just,
Politically.
the other side of the coin must,
Politically.
the other side of the, you must be, we must point out to you the other side of the coin. The two persons politically that you felt, were going in the right direction. Who in that cabal of 6 or 7 that you felt, no, from the time power was achieved, you see a backtracking, backstepping, and you Trevor Williams, say, no, this is not one for the future. You care to go, you care to break loose there?
I'll probably have to have this discussion on another forum in another context, because
No wonder you might say you slippery.
I think there was a betrayal. There's an early betrayal of confidence, where you had people who were so much operating within their own interest that they totally sabotaged and wiped out good prospects for the party again.
The promises of the party, the dreams of the party were gone.
You had that problem fully, in the personhood of probably a few. One being main, but we could always get to that in that discussion. But it undermines
the man don't want to call names.
at this point. We'll take a broader discussion.
Okay.
But yes, also. But I think he can do it without fear of libel. I don't see anything wrong in which you saying Sita, Mary, Joshua were not going in the direction I thought they had promised this nation. And I felt with. I don't see.
I think that's no hidden. I think that's known. It's just to also have a very important discussion.
But this is the last man should want to extract information from people. He's a phonetic custodian of information. When we have guests here, when we have guests here, he would ask Chawandas, he would ask Leonard. So what what went on in the meeting, what you discussed. And when it comes to he would say, another time, I don't want to.
No,
And now
Freddie,
he's doing it to you
Freddie,
too.
do you read what? Do you read what I
Now
write?
he's doing it to you too.
Do you read what I write, Freddie?
I
No,
read
man,
every
that is
sing-
an unfair
I read every
comment.
single- I read every
That is
single-
an unfair comment.
But,
I think you made that first to my friend.
Yeah,
I think Craig-
but if I'm being unfair to the
Craig
thing,
has been
I got to say that you then being slippery.
But I think forums, discussions like these are very important.
Let me lead you on, Trevor.
And,
I was disappointed with
They got 2 minutes.
Nagamoto.
They got 2 minutes.
How do you feel he
The man-
brought to the fore the
The man put his
expectation you
prime
had of
minister
him?
office next to the president
You know,
office.
I-
Although we told him that is
Interestingly,
an atrocity.
in my response to the previous question, I didn't have Moses in thought. But now that you raised this,
Oh, he's the one. He's the one you're gonna
No.
break loose with. But you're right.
Raised this.
He deserved it.
But you know, Moses was held back a lot. It started.
He was held back, or he held
He
himself
set
back?
himself back.
Well, you know, being a
The man didn't have leadership qualities.
being a newcomer who's
That was a failure.
you come to a party you didn't build necessarily.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And he lived with that.
You have to be
Complex,
careful
right.
of what type of weight you throw around.
But he helped them get power.
Significantly so, and that's the point.
And he had constitutional power of no mean order.
Significantly so, but I
Mhm.
think the worst part was his relationship to Congress Place. I think that was the whole issue, what he was allowed to do, how he was viewed, because constitutionally he was next in line after, should anything happen to the president, right? Constitutionally, the prime minister takes charge. And there were clear moves and maneuvers to block him from the path if ever it came up.
Trevor, we got to go the operator to signal that
Sure.
time has come. Can we have your word that when you start to wash laundry, when you start to break loose, all hell will break loose. We have you in a panel about the expectation of African Guyanese. Trevor, when you come back from the interior in another month, let's do this again.
Sure, we'll talk. We'll talk. Definitely. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, man. Good.
Thanks for being with us. This was one of the most interesting analytical programs we've had, in which a foundation member of the AFC has efficaciously analyzed the trends during the AFC in power and looking at where we go from here. That was Trevor Williams, former parliamentarian of the AFC and former executive. Thanks for being with us. Have a pleasant weekend. Whatever left of Friday evening, enjoy it. Have a very pleasant weekend. Take care of the road, and we will see you on Monday. Catch you later. Bye-bye.